The following story is an artistic work of fiction and falsehood. Only a fool would consider it as fact.
Chapter 18. No, I'm Spartacus. Fake. March 26, 2007. This thread is entirely imitators. Hey B, that's Nurse-Kun here. It appears B has changed quite a bit since my last post. I've decided to take a trip code for myself so I don't get impersonated like what happened with the last thread. She and I have had some more failed trips since our last one though, so allow me to fill you in. Our first field trip went more or less okay, so the social worker expressed excitement about doing another one. I didn't yet feel comfortable thrusting her into a highly social situation yet, of course, so I searched out some more low-profile places for us to visit. I asked her if there were any movies she would be interested in seeing. Of course, it hit me she hadn't much contact with the outside world to observe what the new movies were. I filled her in, and the movie she picked just happened to be 300. I know you're all going to make me say this. Yes, we dined in hell. Now obviously, I knew this wasn't going to fly with anybody, so I redirected her attention to a more kid-friendly movie. So we planned on going to see The Last Mimsy. We also decided on going to another fast food place, since she so enjoyed her last hamburger, which eventually finished along with that sandwich. And for our final stop, we planned on going to GameStop near the home to possibly pick out a new DS game for her to play. I was a bit anxious about the last choice. I was hoping she could find something she could play with relative ease. So our journey started as she was loaded up into the van. She had her iPod headphones in her ears, ready to endure another car trip. She was dressed for the occasion, pants and prosthetic legs. She still didn't feel comfortable with her stubs. I held her hand as the car began to start. She looked uncomfortable, but at the very least, less so than our last trip. After the trip, we got out. She was still very happy to be out of the van. We bought our tickets, and we were off into the lobby. We went into the movie lobby, and I could sense she was uncomfortable. There were a lot of people in the lobby, and she was sort of an oddity. I told her the same thing I told her on our last trip. You're braver than them, and prettier too. I then reassured her that once we got into the theater, it would be perfectly dark. I asked her if she wanted any sort of snack food or drinks. We got a bucket of popcorn to share, and we both got sodas. The social worker got some popcorn for herself, too. We traveled into the theater, and we found a nice seat near the top. The movie hadn't started yet, so they were still playing those slides with the ads on them. The social worker and I amused ourselves by trying to answer those movie trivia questions on the slides. Amputee-chan didn't get any, but I told her they were just for old people anyway. The movie finally started. We weren't prepared for anything amazing. At least, I would have rather been seeing 300, but it surprised us. It was about kids with supernatural powers who got toys from the future. Usual kid fare. Amputee-chan seemed to enjoy it. For a moment, she looked like any other kid, eating popcorn and keeping her eyes fixated on the screen. The movie came and went. We skipped out on the credits. I asked her how she liked the movie, and she seemed pleased, which made both the social worker and I happy. I was hoping we'd get through this trip without any mini breakdowns. Since she had filled up on so much popcorn, she wasn't exactly hungry to go gorge on fast food yet, so we decided to rearrange our schedule a bit. After another car trip, which wasn't as bad as the last, we arrived at the door of the GameStop. We went in, and she began looking over the DS games. There were a few other people in the store, which took a load off of her mind. The teenage person working there gave her a few glances, which made me think he might be a beatard. And he might have been. If he's reading this, I'd like to thank him for not pointing this out. I pointed out Yoshi Touch and Go to her, since it only involved the stylus. She could probably play it. She gladly took my recommendation. She also saw Yoshi Island DS. It was more of a button-oriented game, so I was hesitant to buy it. but I thought we may be able to figure it out later and purchased it. We took our purchases to the counter, and the teen working there slipped her a few more glances. I glanced at the social worker to see if she was noticing this, but she seemed bored, not being into video games. She seemed content at her new games and thanked me for buying them. The trip was great, and we had one more place we intended on going. After a final car trip, which she seemed somewhat okay with, we arrived at our destination. Immediately, I noticed the place had a play area and was hoping this wouldn't upset her. She didn't notice it at first, luckily, so we went up to order. I had a hamburger and some fries, and she had the same. The social worker didn't get anything, so we sat down to our table. This table was perfectly within the view of the play place, so I sat on the side that would be facing it. I didn't want it to ruin her meal by having her stare at it. McDonald's isn't exactly the best food, but with her not having had anything but hospital food generally, with the exception of the food she had on our last trip, she found it to be delicious. She ate pretty fast, and I asked her if there was anything else she would like. She got an ice cream cone, and got it down pretty quickly too. I felt a bit slow having her and the social worker sitting there watching me finish my meal, so I took it to go and we head back into the van. We were on our way back to the home, and she seemed happy with the way things went. I was happy too. It was a great day. I thought to myself that maybe if our next few trips went as well, we would eventually be let out without the social worker. We returned to the home and she was eager to try out her new games. She got back to her room and put touch and go in her DS. She seemed to adapt to the control style quite quickly, which pleased her. She found the game rather addictive, and we traded off playing it for a bit. She was a bit tired from the day, so she drifted off to sleep and I left her room. I bumped into the social worker as I was leaving the home and we exchanged quick greetings. The next day it was back to work, but it didn't feel as much like work with amputee-chan there. I was going to check on her, but got called away to help one of the elderly patients. After getting him all settled, I went off to her room. I found her playing her DS, Touch and Go, still in the cartridge slot. She hadn't taken the other game out of its package yet. She was very much addicted to Yoshi, but told me to play a bit and try to beat her high score. She had been playing all night, so I couldn't come close to her. She seemed pleased that she could beat me, and I didn't mind. We played for a bit, and she said she'd like to try the other game we got. So I took it out of the package, and she began to play. She soon learned that it was going to be difficult for her to play. She handed the game to me, but I didn't want to upstage her since I had played the original SNES version. Instead, I said we should play it like we played Mario Kart. She agreed, and we were able to play it a bit better. We're planning on taking another field trip this coming Sunday, so I need some ideas on where to go. You guys had some good ideas last time, so keep them coming. The social worker will still be accompanying us. I was thinking we might want to go see another movie, if there was anything else good playing. You seem to be in a fairly large center, so is there any place like the museum that you visited before? Was it a museum? All that stands out is the space thing with Jumping Jack Flash.
I was thinking someone along the lines of an aquarium or zoo a la the Imposter last time. If not, how about a park or some natural place? That is, if you're free from the icy grasp of winter.
A zoo could work out. Guys, I do appreciate the effort you all put into analyzing threads to make sure it's the real me posting, but I only started writing about her because I thought B would enjoy it, not to stir up a bunch of drama about who's who in every thread.
Real Nurse-Kun makes a lot of small posts to answer questions.
Thread is a fake.
You all seem to a lot more debating than asking questions, but I'll be sticking around if you have any. Ree, what does she call you? Mr. Last name? First name? We're on a first name basis. It makes her feel more comfortable. I don't want to be an imposing medical person. I like to be her friend. There's not many friends in the medical system.
Ree, with her seeming to make such a fast recovery, if she isn't, disregarding this question, aren't you worried that she will be moved into a foster home, which would ruin any chance of you have of adoption, if in fact you have any plans? Well, she is recovering at a nice rate. She's not recovering so fast that she'll be swept away anytime soon. Re.
I think you mentioned in an earlier post that the social worker was pretty reluctant about the whole idea. Does she seem more relaxed now? Do you think you'll have more of a chance of getting us some alone time with the amputee-chan outside of the home?
She seemed much more relaxed on this trip, and even had a bit of fun, I would say. I think that if things continue to go well, I will have that chance.